Mapikar went mad. She would not allow this old monster to touch her. Instinctively, she bit the Sultan's hand. "Ouch!" cried the Sultan, pulling his hand back. Mapikar raised her head and looked. Time seemed to stop. Instead of an old and ugly Sultan, there stood the enchantingly handsome, tall, and majestic young man she had met in the garden the night before. The young man sitting by the fountain felt his heart ache, seeing Mapikar's hopeless gaze. It was unbearable for him to see such a beautiful girl suffer so much. "Listen to me," he said in a gentle voice. "Return to the harem now." Mapikar was surprised. "But you said you would help me escape." "I will," the young man interrupted. "I will help you with your escape. I promise." Mapikar looked at him carefully. Was he certain of this promise? "Are you sure?" she asked, trembling. "Will you really help me?" The young man looked into her eyes and answered, "Yes, but being here right now is very dangerous. If they discover you, both you and I would be in great trouble." Mapikar nodded. He was right. She didn't want to think about what would happen if she were caught here in the middle of the night. "All right," she said, standing up. "I trust you." The young man watched her as she walked away. Leaving such a beautiful and innocent creature among this crowd felt like torture to him, but for now, he had no other choice. After Mapikar returned to the harem, the young man remained alone in the garden. He was Sultan Amit, the legendary ruler of the world's greatest empire. It was as if God had crafted him from a special mold. This 23-year-old young sultan possessed a beauty that would overshadow the princes of fairy tales. His deep amber eyes held both nobility and profound compassion. These eyes sparkled with golden glimmers in sunlight and seemed to shine even in darkness. His facial features were like a masterpiece from a sculptor's hand. An elegant, noble nose, naturally red lips, strong jawline. His dark brown hair was slightly wavy, his beard carefully trimmed. His tall, athletic frame carried itself with a bearing worthy of kings. The entire harem yearned for him. Hundreds of beautiful concubines prayed day and night to be blessed with just one of his glances. The most beautiful girls were ready to give their lives for just one of his smiles. Throughout every corner of the palace, whispers, dreams, and hopes about him circulated. But Sultan Amit's eyes were elsewhere on that enchanting beauty he had seen in the painting. Every movement held grace, every word wisdom. When he spoke, his voice rang like melody. When he smiled, everyone around him was mesmerized. Within this magical beauty, a lonely heart was beating. A few months ago, when he saw that painting in his grandmother Safiye Sultan's room, his life had changed. A small painting, but containing infinite beauty. Those eyes, those magical, color-changing eyes, had entered his dreams. At night he saw that face. During the day he searched for that voice. This girl he had never met had become the only cure for his loneliness. "Who is this?" he had asked his grandmother. "Anastasia, Safiye," Sultan had said. "She came from Greece. Very beautiful. She might be suitable for you." Since that day, Sultan Amit's only thought was to meet this girl, and tonight, it had finally happened. She was 1,000 times more beautiful than in the painting. Not only beautiful, but also brave, honest, pure. "Tomorrow evening, I want to see her," he murmured to himself. But this time as Sultan. The next morning, Mapikar sat quietly in the harem. She was thinking about what she had experienced the night before, wondering whether she could trust that mysterious young man's word. Just then, a concubine in ornate dress appeared at the door. "Mapikar," the girl raised her head. "The valid Sultan is calling for you. Come immediately." Mapikar's heart began beating rapidly. Why was she calling her? Had her escape attempt last night been discovered? Her knees trembled as she entered the valid Sultan's room. Safiye Sultan stood before her in her gold-embroidered kaftan and jeweled crown. Beside her were harem guards. "Come closer," said Safiye Sultan in a cold voice. Mapikar approached and bowed her head. "Where were you last night?" Mapikar froze. So it had been discovered. Aye, she stammered. Answer, Safi Sultan snapped. In her desperation, Mapikar exploded. Please let me go. I miss my family so much. I must reunite with them. I must return. These words infuriated Safi Sultan. Return indeed, she shouted. Once someone enters here, they cannot leave. Remember, this is the sublime Sultanate, the Ottoman Palace, the heart of the world's greatest empire. You have been deemed worthy to be here. You should be grateful. Mapikar began to cry. But I don't want this. I want my father. Forget your father, Safi Sultan roared. Now your only family is this palace. Mapikar began screaming, weeping and pleading. Please, please, let me go. I don't belong here. The harem guards beside her intervened. Watch your step. You cannot behave this way before a valid sultan. You will learn respect. Who do you think you are? Safi Sultan raised her hand, demanding silence. Listen to me, little girl, she said in a threatening voice. If you want to gain power here, to survive, there is only one way, to be with the sultan and bear a prince. This is your only chance. These words drove Mapikar even more mad. Who would want an old, ugly sultan? She screamed. I won't go to that monster. Safi Sultan went insane with rage. What old, what ugly, she roared. Our sultan is the most perfect, most sacred person in this world. Who are you to speak of him this way? Take this insolent girl away, she commanded. But remember, little girl, sooner or later you will appear before the sultan. That evening, the dreaded moment arrived. They began preparing Mapikar for the halvet. As the Kalfas dressed her in beautiful clothes, she cried and rebelled. No, I won't go. I won't go to that old monster. Silence, the Kalfas shouted. You cannot speak of the sultan this way. Terrible. He's a terrible monster. Mapikar cried out through her tears, but she was helpless. She was forcibly dressed and adorned. With swollen eyes and a face covered in tears, she was taken toward the sultan's chamber. When the door to the sultan's chamber opened, Mapikar trembled with fear. Inside, candles burned in golden candelabras, filling the room with magical light. The walls were covered with silk fabrics, the floor adorned with precious carpets. Everything was of fairy tale beauty. Enter, said the guard at the door in a respectful voice. Mapikar slowly entered, her head bowed. Her heart was beating so fast she feared he would hear it. She didn't dare look up out of fear. Come closer, came an enchanting, familiar voice. This voice, where did this melodic voice sound familiar from? But Mapikar was so frightened she couldn't quite recognize it. The sultan slowly approached her. He reached out his hand to lift her chin so he could see those magical eyes. Mapikar went mad. She would not allow this old monster to touch her. Instinctively, she bit the sultan's hand. Ouch, cried the sultan, pulling his hand back. Mapikar raised her head and looked. Time seemed to stop. Instead of an old and ugly sultan, there stood the enchantingly handsome, tall, and majestic young man she had met in the garden the night before. Those amber eyes, that noble bearing, that magical beauty. Suddenly her heart felt like it would leap out from excitement, but she immediately looked away, her cheeks turning red. How was this possible? What? She whispered in shock. You? What are you doing here? Where is the sultan? The young man looked at her silently with those magical eyes. The sultan, he said slowly, his voice soft as velvet. Could it be me? Sultan Amit nodded, his eyes holding both sorrow and love. I can't believe it, Mapikar cried out. Shock, excitement, fear, all at once. Why did you deceive me? Why didn't you tell me the truth? But then she suddenly fell at the sultan's feet. Please send me to my family. You have such power. Please, I beg you. She began crying, holding on to his robes. I prostrate myself at your feet. Have mercy. Sultan Amit looked at her with sadness. Once you enter this palace, there is no escape, he said gently. You know this. You promised me, Mapikar cried through her tears. Because I couldn't explain how dangerous escape would be at that time, the Sultan explained. Mapikar stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. You can't do anything to me, she declared. If this is your intention, you will get no companion from me. A slight smile appeared on Sultan Amit's lips. This courage, this dignity, this was the spirit he had been searching for. I can do whatever I wish to, whomever I choose, he said calmly. This palace, even this world is under my command. Then he softened his voice, but I will do nothing without your consent. Let this be known, Lady Anastasia. Mapikar froze in shock. Her eyes widened. Had the Sultan that everyone competed for, that the entire harem dreamed of, that hundreds of concubines yearned for, left the decision to her? What kind of magnanimous man was this? With wonder, she raised her head to look at the Sultan. In the candlelight, those amber eyes appeared even more magical, that noble face even more handsome. Her heart began beating rapidly again, but this time for a different reason. As Sultan Amit looked at her, the painting he had lived with in his dreams for years had come to life before him. The beauty that had adorned his nights for months, that he had fantasized about, was now within touching distance. He could reach out and touch her, but he wouldn't. This restraint, this patience, was both torture and pride for him. The still beauty in the painting was now breathing before him, her heart beating, her eyes sparkling. That flawless skin seemed as if dusted with pearls. Her dark brown hair cascaded in waves over her shoulders, gleaming like copper flames in the candlelight. Her slender waist, graceful chest line, every detail was like poetry. He was most captivated by those eyes, color-changing, sometimes green, sometimes blue, sometimes gray. Bold yet fearful, rebellious yet innocent. Those inviting pink lips trembled as she spoke, every word touching his soul. She carried an elegance from her homeland. Was this girl a Greek beauty, a fairy, an angel? Every glance held thousands of contradictions, and all of them enchanted him. Her voice sometimes took on an innocent, sometimes passionate tone when speaking. As she spoke, her chest rose and fell, each word reflecting her excitement. The feelings he had for her were complex: passion, compassion, the desire to protect, admiration, curiosity. Altogether, a storm had erupted in his heart. The moment he had been waiting for years was now happening, but he preferred to win this girl's heart first. He took a deep breath and composed himself. Guards, the Sultan called, turning away. Take Anastasia to the harem. And so he walked toward his balcony, disappearing into the coolness of the night. Anastasia was in shock. That night she thought she would be delivered to an old, terrible sultan, but a fairy tale prince had appeared before her. What should she feel now? Should she be happy that it wasn't an old sultan? Should she be surprised that she wasn't as much in demand as she thought? Or should she be glad that she had escaped from this night she had been terrified of? She didn't know. Fear gripped her heart. Had she turned away a great opportunity with her own free will? The only thing she knew was that those amber eyes would never leave her dreams. That night, I understood that fate sometimes reveals itself in the most unexpected ways. The person I tried to flee from in fear was actually my only refuge. So will Kösem decide to escape from the palace? Will she actually escape? Or has she already lost her heart to the handsome sultan she thought was ugly? How will Anastasia's heart change in the face of Sultan Amit's magnanimity? What will be the reactions of the other girls in the harem? What will the valid sultan do when she learns of this situation? If you're curious about episode 2, and if there are other sultans you're curious about, don't forget to write in the comments. Don't forget to follow and turn on channel notifications to stay informed about the continuation of the stories, because this is just the beginning. Kösem Sultan's real story is just starting.